Welcome to the Energized.com podcast and audiobook series. Got a little intro here with an indie artist with a track called Fly High. We're going to jump into the Energized.com podcast and audiobook reading of The Mental Files, which is a published book series on Amazon and read here for free. And then we break apart the chapters as it relates to our own life drama and inner thought struggles. Then we get some biblical prescriptions to help us navigate this life journey. And then when we have time, which we usually do, we jump back into the files of Energized.com for more inspirational wellness. So we will jump into that book series, audiobook reading, and we're at chapter 9. And if you want to get a jump ahead on the complete series, it's The Mental Files. First 6 Stories edition by Nurse Ann, where you can get all 6 stories in one, including that season finale. You can buy the individual books, but I tried to make it easier and less expensive by putting it in one book. It's on Kindle and paperback on Amazon. That's by Nurse Ann. And I also have 2 devotionals out, which we also get into here on the podcast. So we'll jump into chapter 9 of The Mental Files by Nurse Ann, book 1, Sheep Among Wolves. Chapter 9, Relationships in Bloom. And as I said, if you want to catch up with these characters and see what happened in the first 8 chapters, you can listen to the podcast in order or get the complete series available on Amazon. And you're going to love that. You're going to ride along with these frontline workers as they try to rescue those in crisis, mental, physical, and spiritual. And these ships are 24/7. You're going to need to buckle up for this compelling ride filled with action, danger, romance, suspense, faith, and inspiration. So let's jump into chapter 9. Relationships in Bloom. Waking up to a good morning text from Leon, Lita's heart skipped a beat with excitement. She could hardly believe the handsome officer was interested in her. Putting on her best outfit in case she accidentally ran into him, she went to her car and started off to the Mobile Crisis Center. Today was paperwork day, so she might not run into her dream date, but with this new development in her life, she was still on cloud 9. On her way back to the office, she stopped at the psychiatric unit to check on Julie. As she entered the hospital ward, she noticed her favorite nurse sitting at the desk. She had always admired the nurse's gentle demeanor with the hurting. The patients seemed to respond well when the staff showed them respect and kindness. A girl after my own heart, she thought as she waved to Angela. "Oh, hey, Lita, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going out in the field?" asked the nurse. "Well, you know, we have our challenges in the system," started Lita. "We're always behind on the funding, and the patient load is so heavy. I just wish I could do more. I really care about what happens to my clients." "I know what you mean," replied the nurse. "We have to make sure we stay safe, so it's a sticky situation." After Lita sat down with Julie in the day room and offered her some words of encouragement, she went back to the desk to talk to Nurse Angela. "Lita, again, it's great to see you. I wish I could see you more often. You're such an inspiration. You really care about your patients. You're such a great advocate," offered the psych nurse. "Wow, thanks," answered the caseworker. "Right back at you, nurse." "Oh, hey, Lita, what are you doing Wednesday night? You should come to church with me and my ER nurse friend. It's always a blast on Wednesday nights. They do something special. Also, we're going out to eat first," proposed the psych nurse. "That sounds great. Thanks for the invite," responded Lita. "I always love an excuse not to cook. And I usually just sit around with not much to do." Heading back to her office, Lita thought about the new blessings in her life. A new friend and all this attention from the dedicated officer. attacking her stack of paperwork for hours, she didn't even notice when the handsome officer showed up in the doorway of her office. "Hey, beautiful, I just came by to see your face and see if you could go out with me tonight," asked her unexpected but welcome surprise visitor. "Sure," blushed the single woman. "Great, it's date number 2. Let's meet at sports time for happy hour right after work," asserted the confident man. "Okay, I'll see you then," answered the elated single woman. After winking at the pretty woman, Leon turned around and went back to his assignment on the force. And that's the end of chapter 9 of the Mental Files by Nurse Anne. We're going to jump into chapter 10 next, but let's go ahead and break this apart as it relates to real life drama and inner thought strongholds and get some biblical prescriptions to help us navigate our life journey. When I think about that chapter, which is titled Relationships in Bloom, new relationships can be exciting. And sometimes we can get caught up in the roller coaster or the emotions and forget to think about, especially if it's a type of a dating and or love relationship, that we do need to take our time and think about it and act with wisdom and planning. Things can be spontaneous in life, and that's fun. But when you're thinking about deep relationships and walking side by side with someone, you want to make sure you're equally yoked. And I love the book of Proverbs because, there's 31 chapters. There's basically a chapter for each day of our lives, and we could read that over and over as long as we live and still get more and more wisdom and insight from God's word and his great advice to help us. He doesn't want to take away our fun. He just wants us to have a great life so that we won't have a lot of regrets, that we'll just be following him, following his wisdom and his advice. And, I see in Proverbs chapter 5, there's a lot of different advice about relationships. And just think about Proverbs. There's advice for everything in life that you can counter. There's advice about relationships, about money, about planning, about family, about friends, about how to talk, how to act, how to deal with almost probably every situation you can think of. And chapter 5 has a lot of advice about relationships, about being careful, about seeing where that other person is headed and looking at their life, and just make sure we're taking our time and praying about it and thinking about it and listening to others, not getting so caught up in the emotions and the roller coaster, so that we can have fun along the way, but that we'll also, just like we plan for careers, for schooling, for our families, we want to plan for relationships that really deeply affect our lives. So I invite you to check out Proverbs for tips and advice and great life hacks. And let's jump into my published devotional, Word Puzzles Devotional, for some more biblical prescriptions and wisdom from the ultimate wordsmith. So we're going to spin that wheel and see which word puzzles devotional that we will land on today. All right, where did we land in the word puzzles devotional, which is also on Amazon by Nurse Anne? Let's see what fun, interesting word we're going to get. All right, this is interesting word, the letter X. And this word is xanthippe, and it means a scolding and ill-tempered woman. I just thought it was kind of funny when I saw this, that thinking about relationships, we don't want to end up in a relationship with a scolding and ill-tempered person. Let's just see anyway what this devotional says. Everyone can have a bad day and display impatience and meanness. But if you have to live or work with a woman or man that is habitually rude, argumentative, and condescending, the routine can be wearisome, to say the least. The Book of Wisdom even addresses this issue. In Proverbs 21 and 25, we get the picture that has been true through the ages. The words describe living in some corner or even a rooftop is more tolerable than being in the frequent presence of a nagging and angry partner. Hopefully, if someone played back a tape of our speech throughout the day, we wouldn't be the person described that everyone wants to flee from. Proverbs 3 then teaches us a better personality to strive to display. When we show mercy, truth, and kindness to others, the reward will be favor and understanding in the eyes of God and others. In a similar fashion, 1 Corinthians also reminds us that love does not behave rudely or become easily angered. I'm sure we all have our homework to practice. So I hope you enjoyed that fun word puzzle devotional from the letter X, and you can get the Word Puzzles Devotional by Nurse Ann on Amazon. It's a lot of fun and inspirational and encouraging in that book. And moving on to more about relationships in my other devotional is Nurse Ann, Energized Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit. Let's see what we can glean about relationships, just a little snippet from this devotional. As you know, to have a good day, a good life, you have to think about your body, mind, and spirit. They work together in synergy, and let's jump into just a little bit, like I said, about relationships. So in this devotional, I talked about a lot of different things, but in the section about the mind, one of the areas is another area that can trip us up is feeling angry towards others and holding a grudge. Also dealing with difficult coworkers, family, community members, and others. And working as an emergency and mental health nurse, I have encountered this situation. Frontline workers get yelled and cursed at and even threatened or attacked with violence. Some specific communication techniques and tips for dealing with difficult people have helped me. Remembering to stay calm, because getting mad and flustered only makes things worse. It's helpful when we can control our own reactions, even when we cannot control others. And standing firm and being assertive, but in a gracious manner. Also, listen to the other's frustration. Provide eye contact and genuinely listen and show that you care. And a great teaching point from Proverbs 15 has helped me through the years in these types of situations. A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. And through the many opportunities I've had to try and practice this, I found that these words really work. When someone knows that you care and are willing to listen wholeheartedly and show respect and not stoke the fire of anger in return, most of the time the person will loosen their grip on their fury. Also, it's good to clarify what the other person said and repeat it back to avoid any misunderstandings. So listen to the facts and stay objective, and sometimes a timeout is needed. And we also have to know when the issue should be over and move on instead of going in the same circle. James 1:19 says, "Therefore, my beloved brethren, let everyone be swift to hear, slow to speak, and so slow to become angry and have wrath." And even though this might be hard work at times, the payoffs for learning how to walk in forgiveness are priceless. And in order to have a good day, a good life, I think peace with ourselves and others and God are a priority. So this is helpful medicine for our soul. Biblical prescriptions sometimes that Jesus offers might seem hard to swallow at first, but later produce a harvest of an abundant life. So get your dose of that biblical wisdom, prescriptions, and inspiration today. And Romans 12:18 says, "If it's possible, as much as with you, live in peace with everyone." In Proverbs 16:32, "Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that rules his own spirit than he that takes a city." And that's actually all the time for the nurseann.com podcast. So the next time we'll get into the next chapter of the published fiction short story drama, The Mental Files by Nurse Ann, and more word puzzles devotional and Energized Health. And you can also go to nurseann.com. There's so much there for you to encourage, advocate, inspire, and create. Have a blessed day as you go out on the outro with this indie author's awesome music.